Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Camden and Otis. Yes, folks, that was different. That was different. I know all our longtime listeners are going, what Otis just say? I said 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis because this is episode number 1 in our rebranding of our show so that we can help you 10X your staff. And Camden, how's that rebranding going?
It's going well. I gotta admit though, even though I knew it was coming, that felt really weird to hear you say that. So it's gonna take some getting used to. We'll have to, like we said in the green room, gotta get some reps in with this new name, get used to it a little bit. Because that hit the ear weird.
Yeah, it did. It did. And speaking of hitting the ear weird, I'm going to pick on our guest Howie Zales because he is he is a pro at this, and because he's a pro, he's got pro gear. And those of y'all who are watching us on YouTube, you may see how he turned it. Look, there it is. There's that really cool piece of kit that Howie has because you are a pro. Howie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Great. I'm excited because I've got this burning question, and I know people probably ask you this all the time. But as a camera operator for sporting events, first off, how much of it do you really get to watch and experience?
Not much of it. I'll leave. I used to leave events not knowing who won or what the actual score was. Big plays are memorable, but sometimes you don't even know who won because you're so focused on what you're doing.
Oh yeah, because you get this view, right? I mean,
I've done in my career over 20 Kentucky Derbies, and my assignment is I always get assigned a horse and a trainer, and if my horse trainer owner doesn't win, I couldn't tell you who won.
That is so amazing to think about that you're there for the experience, but you don't really get the experience. That's weird. I've always had that concern, if you will. So,
that I was just going to say this. That makes me think. Actually, this conversation I was having with some of the other rugby coaches here at U of A about processing the game and how being a coach, it's like sometimes it's hard to watch the game because you analyze it too much. Do you have any trouble switching on and off like the production side of things? You're watching NFL on Sunday night and you're like, gosh, why are they on this camera angle right now? What are they doing here? Like, do little things like that drag you out of the game, or can you turn it on and off?
No, I'm always watching the coverage, and I have a lot of friends that are working on all the different networks. So I'm constantly texting them, great shot, or, good job, or get out of the shot. I see you, stuff like that.
That's the one I love is get out of the shot, dude.
Oh, why are you standing in it? Stuff like that. Just busting my friend's chops. But yeah, I watch it from a different point of view and sort of my other colleagues, we watch it differently than, the normal person would.
Oh yeah, well,
so with that, then, how do you, I guess, like prevent yourself from losing that passion that drove you towards sports in the first place? Because that's really where the conversation with my rugby coaches is going. It's like it would really suck to not enjoy the sport that you love so much because you got so into it that you're hyper analytical and you can't just step back and enjoy the game. So how did you keep that balance?
Well, because I loved what I was doing. I was going to some of the biggest sporting events that there are. So my passion for sports became my passion for broadcasting sports. So it translated well.
I forgot what I was going to ask, but that made me think of something else. So how do you shift that from, the camera operator to, I mean, I'll just jump to the next level, the business owner.
Yeah.
Because that's a very, I keep using this hand and arm signal of cupping my eyes, but that's kind of what I'm thinking is what life is like as a camera operator.
Yeah. So back in 2000, a friend asked me, I don't know if you remember Imus in the Morning, his radio show. Yeah. I had a friend of mine worked for MSNBC where they used to record Imus's show from and they would simulcast it on MSNBC. Once in a while, they'd take his show on the road. So my friend Brian called and say, "Hey, Howie, we need a camera operator. Can you help us out at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut? We're doing Imus's show." And I said, "Sure, that's awesome." And he said, "By the way, I need a few more camera people and a few audio people, a replay person." He said, "Do you have any friends?" And I said, "Sure, I know people that can do this." And he said, "By the way, do you want to make it easy for me and just, pay everybody and send me one invoice?" And I said, "Sure." And I said, "You know what? There has to be a business behind this, because I know people are calling me and pay and doing this. Why can't I do it?" And slowly but surely, I developed the right contacts, and I started my hiring business. And 2007, we got a bunch of union contracts when the unions really came into play, and it's just grown ever since.
With that, I guess what were some of the like big awakenings as you stepped into the business world a little bit? Where I'm sure you had, I can tell you're very analytical. I'm sure you had a lot of understanding of the business already, but there's got to be a couple of things that smacked you in the face that that first few months out.
Yeah. So when I first started the business in 2000, and then as it was starting to grow, it became overwhelming because I was traveling 4-5 days a week. I was doing payroll in the middle of the night. I was hiring people whenever possible, and that was really before email was a thing. And I'd find I was making mistakes because I was doing too many things. So then I eventually, when we really started to grow, I hired somebody. And then as we started to grow, I hired another person. And then to the point where I don't even do payroll. I don't do invoicing or billing or anything. I couldn't even tell you how to do it. And it really became pivotal when my wife said to me, she said, you're more of an entrepreneur than a camera operator. And she said, let's look at what you get paid as Howie Zales, a camera operator, on a yearly basis. And then let's look at what HJZ Productions makes on a yearly basis. And I was like, oh my God, I got to stop traveling. It's like getting in the way of, it's getting in the way of my business. I can't run my business from a different airport every day around the country. I need to be in my office running the business, and I got to figure out how to spell the word entrepreneur.
A stupid French word.
Why
do you have to go with a French word, man? I just tell you what.
I mean, for God's sakes.
We could have just come up with a nice short little, where's our entrepreneur that came up with the word entrepreneur that should have made it a simple word? I'm right there with you, man. Every time I type it. Thank gummit. How did you, I love the fact that your wife, by the way, I love that part too, kind of the poke from your wife.
Yeah.
Hey, over here, stop running around, slow down, take a look at things. What was that data? So was it just revenue, or was there some other data that you started to see when she tapped you on the shoulder?
Well, good question. I was simultaneously working for NBC Sports and the World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE. And WWE gave us a year's, I had worked for them for 20 years, and they gave us a year's notice that basically our shows were moving from travel on Sunday, work in one city on Monday, travel by rock and roll bus to another city on Tuesday, travel home on Wednesday, and then I'd leave on Thursday for college football or Saturday for NFL, then repeat the cycle. So the warning or the notice was the show is moving from Mondays and Tuesdays to Mondays and Fridays. So I'm like, how am I going to be? And they wanted you to commit to every single show all year long. I was like, no way. I'll never see my kids. I'll never see my wife. What kind of life is that? I wanted no part of it. So I said, I really got to, start thinking. And that's when we really took a hard look at the numbers, and that's what pushed me over the edge. And it was a gamble because, I could have had a literally all year job. And in the television business, those types of jobs are very, very rare because most people are freelancers. You only work when you get paid. but it was the best decision I ever made.
Well, and that's the
You talked about
reality
how
of becoming a business owner is you start to look at the data and you start to, I think that's the other shift that happens from the doer to the business owner in the realization of, well, revenue, time, other parts and pieces, client base, employees. That's the other thing that's like, boom, I'm a business owner.
Well, and quality of life plays a big
Mm.
part of that, right? Because I would I try to travel on Monday mornings, so I'd have all of the weekend at home. So I was waking up at 2 a.m. on Mondays to make a 6 a.m. flight to get to wherever I can go. Then I'd take the first flight out on Wednesdays to get home in time. Then repeat the cycle on Thursdays if I was doing football. And it was just, I was so tired 100% of the time. And, quality of life plays a big portion of my decision too.
Talking about that shift from like doer to business owner, as you put it, Dad. Howie, how did you keep that passion again? Because we kind of heard talk. You love the sports, then you kept it through that first section of the career, I guess. As a camera operator, how did you keep that again to where now you're doing it completely different again? Maybe you missed literally just being on the camera. Dad, we've joked about as a rugby coach, like I still miss just going out and getting hit in the face for some reason. Like there's things that cover those, scratch the itch a little bit, but there's always something you miss there. How did you keep that passion going through that next jump?
Yeah, because I look at it that I'm providing people with work, with income. So I'm giving new people or younger kids through mentoring a shot in the business, helping them get started. So that's how I keep my passion for it alive, is by doing, by that I'm helping people, and that, that brings me joy. So
What's the difference between like doing a live event versus doing a streaming event? Whether you're streaming the 10X Your Team, caught myself, the 10X Your Team with Camden and Otis show, or a rugby match, another plug, shameless plug, a rugby match at the University of Arizona.
Yeah, you know what? There's not much of a difference. There's still, it's just the amount of cameras, the amount of people. There's still a lot of tech that gets involved. We do, my other business, Viridity Entertainment, does a lot of live stream corporate events, sporting events, live stream concerts, things like that. We still show up with the same mentality that this is being broadcast on one of the 3 networks. We show up. We will not take a job if the client does not give us a setup day or / rehearsal day, because something will always go wrong if we're not given the amount of time to put into a production to make sure and guarantee that there's no issues.
Mm-hmm. With that, I guess, how much does the business side of it change on the production from sport to sport, different things? You mentioned Kentucky Derby, we threw out football, rugby, all these different things. How much does that actually change what you're doing, or is it more just like applying that same mechanism to these different things?
As a camera operator or business owner?
Business owner more so.
Yeah, it doesn't really change anything. We have a lot of different events that we hire TV crews for. Basically, it's just understanding the job or the event to put the right people in the right positions to give the clients the best production. And so whenever there's kind of like reoccurring events every year, we try to get to the clients early enough to say, is this happening? What are your needs? We want to supply you with the best people available.
Speaking of people, how do you find those right people? Because every industry has some slightly different techniques, but the fundamentals are the same. But I'd love to get a little bit of the technique that you need to do for your specific industry in hiring folks.
One of the things is that we have to work off of a union list of people, but then it's also there's certain individuals in each position or craft, we call it, that I trust 100%. And I'll say, hey, have you worked with so-and-so? What do you think? What are their skill sets? I'd rather bring someone in for a shadow or training day just to make sure that the skill sets are up to par. And then I always ask the client, I said, please give us your feedback.
Mhm. That makes me think of, it's very common to talk about this in sports, especially rugby. We talk about a lot, the pipeline of athletes and those kind of things. What's the pipeline of talent like on the production side there, from your perspective? It seems like you said you have a pretty good list of talent that you can get. You can go through the shadowing process. Is there a good pipeline for that, for the high school kid who's doing the football games and wants to get all the way up to, NFL on Sunday night?
No, that's a huge issue. Especially since COVID, when a lot of freelancers retired, also the age of freelancers retired. And that kind of led me to start the broadcast sports course, or the TV sports course, to try to train the younger generation how to get into the business. And basically we taught some physical fitness, how to eat healthy, stay healthy, how to email clients, talk to clients, how to speak to them on the phone, what questions to ask. From the second they park in their parking spot at the job site to the second they leave, we outlined in a book, what their job responsibilities are for the position that they're working in. We also outline in the book how to shoot baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey, and boxing from every camera position in the general sense, because every director has his or her own method, but it pretty much is all sports is a formula on how to do it. And so we're just trying to train the younger generation on how to get into the business, because it's difficult. I started out shooting news, and then I started doing a bunch of college basketball, and I called ESPN, and the woman who answered the phone, who was their main hiring person, I said, hello, this is, Howie Zales. I've been doing camera for 2 years. This is what I've done. She said, call me back in 5 when you had more experience. And I put it in my calendar, and I called her back on that day 5 years later. And she could not believe it.
Oh, that's
but
awesome.
I was not going to let that stop me,
That's awesome. I love that story.
What could you talk a little bit through, like, what I guess the term that comes to mind is like the pain points are of that, because I could tell when I asked that question, that's something that you saw, is that, you can't find the right talent, that you see the demographic aging and you're worried about what it's going to be looking like in 10 years. What was like the pain point that led you to seeing that problem and wanting to address it?
Yeah, when we have a lot of events that we hire crews for, when we're constantly trying to make calls and find people and no one's available because they're either retired, don't want to work, or booked, and there's just not enough people. And we're talking in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, the biggest market in the country with the most sports teams. We're out of people, good qualified people.
So I guess to kind of follow up with that, talk about it in terms of like the pipeline, where do you think that pipeline is broken? Is it more courses like what you were talking about, just to give them the know-how to step into the industry?
Yes, definitely. And some people in the industry see my course as, they get upset at my course that I'm offering new people into the industry, because they have a very small-minded view of things, because they're worried about their work. But there's plenty of work to go around. It's a difficult business to get into and to find out who the clients are. And it's a hard business to get good at, because there's nowhere to practice unless you're on the job site. So what I do, if I tell utilities, the people that run cable and help out on the production, I say, if you want to be a camera operator, bring your own lunch. During lunch break, play around with the camera. Ask the camera operator if you could, during warm-ups, be on the camera and shooting. Constantly be in someone's ear asking questions. Look at what people are doing in the position that you want to do.
I imagine that's quite a leap to go from the YouTuber with the phone, because I mean there's a lot of quality in the phone, but it's nowhere near the same as the. I mean, they're not they're not the Johnny Carson size cameras, but they're still,
yeah, no, they're the big studio cameras that come in like 5 different pieces, or it's a handheld camera on your shoulder.
Yeah. So how do you come and understand? Cause I'm just thinking, and the 20 somethings, the kids that are graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in communication or something like that right now, they're thinking they've got it all. I mean, heck, I've seen newscasters out here around here with their phone on a tripod and a mic connected to it doing a local shot.
Yeah.
How do you convince them that hey, that ain't going to cut it?
Yeah, we just try to educate them. I speak at the college that I went to all the time about the industry and try to give advice because it's constantly changing, especially with technology. But yeah, you'd be surprised how many people are trying to do it the cheapest way possible, but cheap always ends up looking cheap, right?
I'm hurting. My feelings are hurt right now because I don't have a big fancy camera when I'm recording.
It's all good. This is what I do for a living, so it should be right.
Oh yeah. So every one of yours, I mean, folks, on if you're listening in the truck, when you get home and open up YouTube and listen to this, watch it, and you can see I can see the difference, at least on my computer, the camera quality and yeah, I mean, showing us up. It ain't just the earpiece. There's a lot of the tools that are going.
I have a fixed lens, so it makes the background go out of focus, and yeah.
Dang. Listen to that.
Classy.
There you go. I mean, doesn't even have to hit the unfocus the background.
No.
Or as bad as me doing this, trying to get the refocus on my face when it gets on the background. In the same vein of that kind of pipeline of talent, Howie, what would be some of the advice you would give to somebody, let's say in high school, who might have done a little bit of work with either the school news, filming a football game, whatever it is, and trying to figure out how to figure out that path forward?
Yeah. Find a mentor, use LinkedIn. I help people that went to my college, the school I went to, Plattsburgh State, all the time, reach out to alumni. And I actually have a call with someone that just graduated from Plattsburgh tomorrow to try to mentor and coach them through the process. Latch on to people. People helped me. I had mentors at all stage of my career, so I always try to pay it forward.
Is your industry kind of pigeonholed in the sense of you're a sports focused, or could you go shoot a movie for lack of a better word?
Yeah, no. Sports and entertainment, meaning we can do all different types of sporting events, maybe some concerts, but they're typically the camera people or the TV crews that do like award shows. That's pretty much what they do, is award shows. That sort of thing, or talk shows. So it's easier for sports people to go to talk shows than talk shows people to go to sporting events.
Mm-hmm. But movies is a whole other thing. Okay. What was the catalyst? I think we've talked a little bit about this, but what was the catalyst that made you say, all right, I should create a course. I should share what I know and teach people about that. What was that realization?
Yeah, just because I was seeing that there was a lack of people, and need for more people in the industry, and I knew that I had several mentors that helped me along, and so I thought it'd be, and I had already been mentoring people, and I enjoyed doing it, and I've hired all the people that I was mentoring, and so I said, why not teach people what I know, and then I could turn around and hire them. What better way to, do it. And so we did the course once. We had 5 or 6 people in it, and I think I've hired 5 out of 6 people that were in it.
Looking. Oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought a little bit on that. But talking about developing your team, have obviously fixing that talent pipeline shows that you're pretty in tune with the talent side of it, the people side of things. How did you start to build your own culture and really develop the team in that way as you grew the business more and more?
Yeah. So our core team is actually really small. It's 3 of us, and we're all. 2 of us are very similar, and one of us is when a mean phone call needs to be made to collect money, that's the other person, my wife. And I don't. Lori handles a lot of the business side of the business in my first company, HJZ Productions. Jen handles that sort of thing in Viridity, VES, and I kind of just float between both.
What happens as technology continues to change? I mean, is there we've talked about AI on our show quite a bit. Is there an AI element that can complement and or even remove the human cameraman?
No, not in sporting events. The only thing that's kind of removed people from behind the cameras is robotic cameras. If you're watching hockey, there's cameras below the scoreboard or behind the goals or in the goals, right? But there's still a human operating them. They're just behind, underneath somewhere, because camera people we're listening to what we're listening to the story the announcers are telling with their words in our headset, and we're telling the story with the pictures we're showing. So, and we're constantly looking out of the viewfinder to see where number 5 is on the ice, or where the defensive tackle is on the football field, or the offensive line coach is in the coach's box. There's no way to do that without humans doing it.
That's
in that.
Go ahead, Ken.
Go ahead. All right. So in that kind of same vein, how do you look at the innovation side in as far as broadcast, looking forward of the thing that comes to mind, Dad, it's funny you said AI, because the thing that comes to mind when I think of future of broadcasting is that weird 8K thing they've started doing where it's almost so HD that it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable looking at my TV. Is there something you look at, Howie, as a path forward where it's there's a lot more to still be done as far as that innovation, or is it kind of stagnated?
With 4K, you said?
Mentioning that, I don't even know if 8K is a technical term. I probably just heard somebody say that once, of the super HD, but really just thinking broadly of innovation and, looking to change those things versus it's already, obviously it's already very, very good. It's already obviously a very high quality product. So
there's really nothing broadcast in 4K. The 4K is used in sports for a high wide shot to have all the players in, and then they could zoom the camera in a replay and still have the quality as full high def, but have it zoomed in really far. That's the only reason 4K cameras are used in sporting events. And it's not every single camera. It's just maybe 1 or 2. But nothing is truly broadcasted in 4K because your internet signal can't handle it. And most people's cable, if they have it, couldn't handle it.
Yeah, but
that actually gets that actually gets me thinking too a little bit of my going back to college of astronomy days and stuff. U of A here we have we don't build most of the big telescopes. We polish the lenses for them. Fun fact, underneath the football stadium here. But it gets to when you start talking about astronomy stuff, a lot of it is literally just the size you start getting to. How much of that is a factor when it comes to quality? Let's say just for the sake of it, take the internet aspect out of it. Could you even go that much bigger? Because you're going to wind up getting bigger and bigger cameras, all that kind of stuff. Is there kind of a physical limitation to that growth?
Maybe I don't understand your question. Sorry.
No, that's all right. It was a weird question anyway, so I'm comfortable if it doesn't get answered. But no, the idea that, you know, as you make things higher quality when it comes to like literally visuals, there's like this like physics component of
Okay.
it, to where a camera has to get bigger in order to get better quality and that kind of stuff. Do you run into that physical limitation on the technology side when it comes to production, or is it more just like it doesn't make sense on the math or the money or those kind of things?
Good question. I really don't know how the camera's designed. I know they did get heavier when high def was introduced, because the glass on the lenses had to be reimagined, and in order to make it high def, the glass in the lenses got heavier, so the back end of the cameras got heavier to support the front end of the lenses. So you know, they can't get much heavier.
Yeah,
that was one like I said, not a great question, more just real curiosity at the moment on that one. So thank you for playing with me on that.
No worries.
Go ahead, Ben.
I almost wanted to just be like the judge in a courtroom and say overruled on that one, Ken. You know, yeah, that was. But yeah, to bring us back around, you got the three person team. How do you or what do you see as that growth? You know, because it sounds like it's a very close knit. You know, your wife being part of it, so I'm guessing close knit team. How do you see that business growth going in the future and in that development of the company as it grows?
Yeah, we're looking, I think, in the next few months, if things continue on the current path, to hire another core team member. But it has to be the right fit. The person has to have similar personalities to us, has to know the business, and the training can't be too long. Otherwise, it just defeats the purpose for me. But if we had one more person, it would basically free me up to kind of do some more selling of our live stream business and get have more hands-on in the selling process of that.
How do you look at your growth looking forward to that? You kind of hinted at it a little bit there, but, you know, as far as hiring the next person on, so you could focus more on sales, you know, what is a little bit of those stretch goals going down that way?
Yeah. We just, our streaming company is our big focus in terms of growth. And we're trying to get more events. We don't need a ton of events every year because they're big ticket items, and there's a lot that goes into preparation. So we would just like at least maybe 5 more big events a year. And, hopefully those will come and we'll be able to scale to that level in 2024.
Does the cyclical nature of the sports seasons play a role too much into your business operations? Or because you're broad enough where it's not like you're in the football off season because you could do baseball at that time, you know, you're pretty open in that way?
Our company, HJZ Productions, has the MLS soccer contract for Apple TV Plus. Literally started hiring people back in, let's say, after the Christmas break in January for a February 1st start date, and the season is still going on. It's just coming to an end next week, and then we have the soccer draft a week after that, and we do a ton of hockey. So really, there's no off season.
How do you shape that that industry, the sales piece? I'm kind of getting into the, you know, is it with all the tools that you have, you know, one of the things that's super easy nowadays with all social media, and you've got the high quality stuff to put out there, or do you have a sales process? Because one of the things that we do in our Tribe and Purpose business is we work with folks that, in that sense, that are growing. So I'm really curious how you're projecting out sales don't share what you're bidding on, because I don't want the competition to beat you to the punch. But in that sort of sense, is what are we going for, and how are we capturing that? Or is your phone just ring off the wall because you're that good?
Yeah, I wish, right? So we have a company that does outreach for us on LinkedIn, and their main purpose is to get leads, set up meetings or appointments for me. And these people hopefully will have event. They're putting on hybrid, in-person or virtual events, podcasts that we can produce for them. And the whole idea is to get them into a meeting and sell the quality of our business, the quality of our work, and why they should use us to help produce their event.
I'm trying to think, how do you help to convey your quality in that sense? Because I think that's one where, like Dad, you kind of joked about the visual quality, obviously being a big part of it. You can send clips and those kind of things, but what you're offering as a value to your clients is going to be so much more than that. How do you convey that in a way that they can really understand?
Good question. I lead with my 25 years of experience in the broadcast television industry. I don't really promote it, but once in a while, if it comes up, I let them know I've won an Emmy. So I know what a good camera shot looks like from my past, my history of doing it, right? We know what good TV is. So our goal is to make sure your event can air or has the quality to air on the networks. I explained the type of equipment we have, and the team that I use whenever we have of events, and what their history is, and usually that's enough.
Can you touch on the whole Emmy thing? Because I mean, I've watched the Emmy show. And my thought as a cameraman winning an Emmy is it kind of like a Pulitzer Prize of a pitcher. You win the Pulitzer Prize because this is a Pulitzer Prize winning pitcher. Is it kind of that, or is there just
no? Our team won an Emmy for our work in the Beijing Summer Olympics for gymnastics.
So is that based on like?
So
the shot you capture,
or it was like our coverage of the gymnastics at Olympics.
Oh,
yeah,
cool, very cool. I mean, I'm surprised. Why isn't it sitting behind you? I mean,
yeah,
I got my bottle of whiskey sitting behind me.
That's not my personality to like flaunt it.
Oh man, I'm not. You're saying I'm flaunting that bottle of whiskey right there? Is that what you're saying?
You are.
Okay, I
am. In that kind of same vein, how do you, talking 25 years of experience, having these different marks of success and hitting those different high points, how do you continue to, develop yourself personally and keep pushing that line to, move the quality forward? Even, we already talked, it's relatively stagnant of, there is a high quality level of production. How do you keep pushing that forward or keep pushing yourself?
I constantly watching seminars, videos. I was just watching a video on AWS and cloud production, how we can make our workflow better. So never resting on what I have or our workflow or our processes. How can we make it better?
I'm trying not to go down the AWS hole because I've done some work in that department and it's really, really cool. And it's really, really scary because of how much that big Amazon is becoming parts of everything that we're doing. So
I mean, they don't even make their money from Amazon shopping. That's not they lose money from that. It's AWS that makes them the money.
Oh yeah. And folks, just as a little sidebar, if you didn't know, they're pretty much running everything in the government too. The government's cloud-based computing is all AWS. Don't be naive.
I was going to say that you might have to give a rabbit hole warning on that because you get somebody like Norman, our old producer, going down that rabbit hole. You can spend a couple days.
Yeah. Don't let Norman in the room on this. I can tell you that. Woo, look out. to bring us back, I was thinking as we were talking about earlier, we were talking about different cameras and things like that. It's kind of a two-part question. Is there a favorite position in like a I don't know, I guess I'll let you choose a sport because you've covered so many. A favorite position, 50-yard line, corner, the behind the net in a hockey game, whatever. Favorite position at a game or an event, and then I'll save the second piece. Well, no, I'll give you the second piece because it might be easier. Is there a favorite camera? Because we mentioned the robotic camera. I'm thinking about some of the rugby events down south, southern hemisphere. You see guys on segways with cameras. Yeah, that one still amazes me. Yeah, and then the big, like I said earlier, the big Johnny Carson camera. What's your favorite tool?
Yeah, I was a handheld camera operator on my shoulder. For football, I would be on the sideline, usually 10 yards ahead of the ball, following the play. And once the ball got into the red zone on either side, I'd go to behind the end zone or the corner where they meet. And that I love that camera. Gymnastics, I had a certain part of the floor that I covered. Hockey, I would always do behind the goal, but hadn't done hockey in a long time. And for wrestling, I would do all the backstage vignettes, the fight scenes, the interviews that kind of push the storylines along.
I'm thinking about some of those. How do you keep from laughing at some of those? That's the wrestling backstage stuff.
Yeah. It's just you're not really listening to what they're because you can't. It's your job not to.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I got one more quick one. We talked plenty about rugby. With U of A rugby, I do the play-by-play and the color. I'm only one there, but I've always got a rugby boy next to me, usually because he hurt his ankle or something, who's filming the games. Give me 3 tips I could give them to help get us a little bit better. We're just one camcorder up there in our little booth that's about 10 feet off the ground.
Right.
So it's not too much going on there, but just little tips as far as maybe the angle, ways to move, anything like that to try to help someone like that out.
With one camera?
One camera.
Yeah, so I guess wider is always a little bit better. Try to always keep the ball in the camera. And if you're wider, it's easier to do instead of whip panning or jerking the camera. If you have it on a good tripod, make sure that the locks are open so it's not like, make sure it's smooth. Not too much zooming because that can make you sick.
Yes.
I love it.
If other mamas watching, tell them not to be zooming that. My mom gets motion sickness.
Yeah.
So, she'd be done if they're going in and out like.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Oh man.
Perfect.
So much I've learned today from so many things, but I can tell you my number one, and I love this thought, and I'm going to watch events differently because of this, and that is the cameraman telling the visual story that the announcer is talking about. I never really thought about that. I always thought it was like the producer in the trailer that was in this isolation booth. But it's that right there. I'm fascinated by that, and I'm anxious to watch Thursday Night Football and see it a little bit differently.
You watch it from a different point of view. Whatever the announcers are talking about, the camera people are going to shoot because we hear them. And there's a little button on the Zoom that can show what is going out over air. So not all 50 cameras are shooting the same thing. So if they're talking about a quarterback battle and camera 1 has the quarterback that's playing, maybe you shoot the quarterback that's on the bench or about to start warming up because the quarterback that's playing is not doing well, so we're telling a story what's the story that we're telling. And sometimes we may need to force the story with our pictures for the announcers, but a lot of times we're listening to the announcers.
Hint, hint, Troy Aikman. Look at this.
No, seriously.
What's happening here, Troy?
Sometimes the producer has to get in their ear to tell them to look at the monitor.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, they're humans too, right? I mean,
yeah. But yeah, no,
awesome.
they're the stars of the show. They drive the broadcast, and they're telling the stories, and we enhance the stories with the visuals.
That's awesome. Camden, how about you? What'd you learn?
So I got to be honest, you stole mine there, Dad, because I was thinking of our
intern
who comes down and helps film.
By the way,
no, our intern who comes down and helps film the rugby games. I was thinking I got to tell him that it's listen to what I'm saying and enhance what I'm saying by giving us the right visuals on the field. But then I think the other aspect is just how what you were saying there, just thinking about it from the storytelling perspective. That's one thing. I have no actual training in when I do commentary for those rugby games. But just watching folks, I'm always like, okay, you take what people are seeing and you just add to it because they're already seeing what you're seeing. You just got to add a little bit of flavor to it. But thinking about it from that storytelling perspective makes a lot of sense because then it's easier to add in those layers and just keep enhancing that story rather than trying to control the story or anything like that. Just take what's going on and keep enhancing it.
Awesome. Howie, how about you, man? What'd you learn?
No, I appreciate your time. I learned a lot, about your business and what you guys do, and so I appreciate that. And I'm now a fan of your show. So
awesome. Yeah, you can just send a cameraman. We'll just put him right there on the other side of my desk. Howie, how do folks find you? Learn what y'all got going on, maybe. And really sign up for the course because we need some quality cameramen out there.
On LinkedIn at howardzales.com. My website for our events or actually you can go to howiezales.com and all our company's websites are accessible from that.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been great and a lot of fun and very informative and you can bet I won't be the only one who's changing their perspective on how they're watching events going forward.
Awesome. You got to let me know. You got to let me know how it goes after Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I will. Thanks for your time today, Howie. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Camden and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Howie Zales, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so that they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, the full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time.